Come here, son, nephew, young man. Let me holler at you. Something that might have got by some of y'all, depending on how closely you watch my channel. I made a video about, if you've been watching this channel, you know there's an effort on my part to try to keep young men out of jail. There's some guys I teach. Part of why these kids respect me so much, certain things I don't ask questions about. I make sure they don't tell me names, don't give me specifics. Lawyers have what's called a fiduciary duty, meaning if they're dealing with a client, they got to work in the best interest of the client, if that makes sense. So these guys talk to me. I don't want to know what you're doing out there. I don't know what you did. They may give me a general thing, and most of the time it's still they really just come by and speak. Come by and sit. Ask me what I'm doing. Ask me how my weekend was. Probably because they don't have any productive men to be around, and they're sad. And some of them do, and some of them just come from generations of hardcore men. That's a different story for a different day. But see, them old gangsters, they knew to keep the streets in the streets and to leave regular folks alone. As a matter of fact, like I said in my last video, some of them street people of old, they would actually look out for square people, especially if they lived in their neighborhood. Because you got some people who do what they do in a quiet neighborhood, and you'll never know that they're there because they don't bother anybody. If anything, they're helpful. I got a relative like that, where the local OG looks out for the neighborhood. That's the wrong place to be messing with them little old ladies and grandmas and elderly men and even children who live in that neighborhood. Because them old OGs, they're watching. But anyway, I digress. So look, I shouted out OG Percy. Show no mercy. Okay. Hey, the guy makes videos about what it's really like in the penitentiary. And in the last video, I was talking about how the root word of penitentiary is penitent, which means godly sorrow. So you got some people that want to go to jail these days. You got some people who, for some odd reason, it's more comfortable in jail than it is in the free world, because there's things that they can access in jail, and there's money actually that they make in jail. I don't know if I'm gonna be the one to go into it or not, but everything they can get in the free world, they get in jail. But you got a couple of different caveats. And see, OG Percy, what I'm doing, I'm clout chasing. That's what you call it, clout chasing? Yeah, I'm a clout chaser a little bit. Because here's the deal. I talk about this stuff, but I know my students are probably looking like, hey, man, you don't live how I live. And I don't. But OG Percy tells some story. That man done been to hell and back in that doggone penitentiary. I mean, gruesome tales. Men getting stabbed next to him and hollering at night. Men trying to rape other men. Knife fights. Hey, man, I done been in some fist fights. I done some other things to make some folks understand, hey, if you do that, it ain't gonna turn out well for you. I ain't never been in a knife fight. I even carry a pocket knife to do work and stuff with. But two people who are willing to stab each other because of whatever issue, that is unreal to me. That is insane to me. So you mean to tell me that you're willing to go toe-to-toe with somebody with a knife and you scared to fight in the streets and got to get a gun? Ain't no guns in there. But I understand some of them guys got family, friends, gangs, whatever to back them up. But this guy talks about how people are just ready to go home. Some people stick to the code and never tell. Some people do. And, he talks about how much disdain he has for people who violate the code of silence, the G code, and talk about, tell what they on somebody else so they can get out of jail. They talk about the food. They talk about what it's like to shower in front of men naked and have to sleep around other men. Man, you go look at his channel. And I'm going to put his @ sign, his tag, so you can go, if you one of these young men who feel like, well, I'm on demon time and I just don't mind going to jail. Bruh, you sure? I hear what you're saying, but are you sure? Because the way that brother describes the prison experience is like pure D hell. And see, the reason I'm tagging OG Percy is because he actually subscribed to my channel. So if you're out there, if you're one of my students, I know you figure I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm smart enough to defer you or refer you to other people who know that lifestyle. And I don't. I know you don't want to do it. You think you do. You don't really want that. Because there's too many men in there based on these stories and based on the brothers I know who are in there who are like, man, Renaissance, man, keep doing what you're doing. These kids don't know what they're getting into. These young men don't know what they're getting into. When they could just go get a trade and go to work and live a clean, easy, and peaceful lifestyle. Man, I just spit everywhere. All right, well, hey, it's like that. If you've watched this channel before, I don't do double takes. I do bare minimum editing. So if you catch me in a blooper, you just got one. Anyway, go check out OG Percy. Show no mercy. Because that's his mindset. Think about that. A man who telling you, look, I ain't showing you no mercy if you come against me like that. Knife, weapon, whatever. And you being stuck with 1,000 guys like this. And see, I just made that video about this dude that robbed the bank with the fake gun. So let's say he had been to jail before, but let's say he would have got away with it. He didn't obviously want to pull a real gun and hurt anybody. So now you locked up in there with somebody who's like, hey, I ain't showing no mercy. That's the way my dad cursed me. Really, dude? Hey, me personally, I'm going to stay my square self here. I like air conditioning. I like my own clothes. I like to get up and go where I want to. I like freedom. I ain't trying to engage in no knife fight. No, thank you. So by him subbing to this channel, that lets me know. By saying stay out of jail, that should let you know. If you one of those people looking like, come on, Renaissance, man, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, apparently somebody who has lived that life does. Enough to say, okay, let me see what this square dude talking about. Maybe he doing right by the kids. Because I'm quite sure Mr. Percy's goal is to tell these gruesome stories so you stay your tail out that place. So listen to the OG. Listen to what the man got to say. Listen to them horror stories. I hope they give you nightmares. I hope you repent and feel penitence before you go up in one of them places and live a long, prosperous, free, peaceful life. OG Percy say he ain't gonna show you no mercy, huh? Well, I'm praying the mercy of God upon your soul, and that you take 6 weeks to get get a CDL, just 6 weeks. You can go to a construction site for free if you don't want to do that. They got degree programs that take 2 years. You can learn how to cut hair in 1.5 years. Barbers ain't never gonna run out of money. You can learn to be an electrician. There's trade programs in your city free if you don't feel like you college material. If you want to be behind the desk, there's all types of computer certifications. You got YouTube. You have YouTube. We had encyclopedia. You see these? I keep them because the world is changing and this internet and this electricity and this modern society ain't going to last forever. And we're going to need those, but that's a different story for another day. A lot of people ain't ready to hear that. You have the internet. You can do anything. You can be anything. But anyhow, shout out to the OG for subscribing to my channel, because when you're trying to deliver a positive message, it can take some time to build organically. I got bots and stuff coming through now with all these fake accounts and all this fake stuff. But to find the people who really need the information and who are sharing it, they're coming. But sometimes you look like, hey, am I doing the right thing? Well, that told me if that's one of the messages that I'm sending, and somebody who is an expert in the knowledge in that area takes a moment to say, hey, I see what you're doing. Well, I must be doing something right, so let me continue doing God's work, because that's what I view it as. Speaking of which, like, share, and subscribe to the content if it interests you. If not, share it, because I guarantee you there's some young man somewhere who can use this information. And as always, never lose the will to win, never lose the will to survive.